You may remember a few weeks ago, Brother Steve bought a new-to-him 1980 Dodge Powerwagon. Turns out he's been wrenching on it pretty heavily, and he even decided to take some videos with it. Now, things being how they are, it seemed prudent to try and conglomerate that said video into an update on the old girl. I'm Heathen, and you're watching Heathen's Garage. Let's check in with Snowman.
Hello, strangers. Been wondering what color this thing is, so I'm going to go over it with some 1500 grit sandpaper and some water, and then I'm going to power polish it to find out. Is it blue, gray, or green? Now, if you're wondering how a cut and polish is done the right way, well, you're wasting your time watching me, because I don't know. I've never been shown. But you can take a lot of material off with 1500 grit sandpaper and some water, and you're still left with paint, so that's what I'm going to do. Works great for getting the mud and dirt off the car too. If you're in a bit of a hurry, you just wet sand it. Whoa, the grit just changed. This is one of those jobs that I shouldn't enjoy. For some reason I do. It's a little like body work, except not hard. Of course, the downside is you got a truck with as many dents as this one. It might just look worse when it's shiny than it does before. I think when the pros do this, they start with the coarser grit, maybe work their way up to 2000 or something, and then polish. But the only sandpaper I've got is 1500, and the only polish I've got is medium. So that's what it's going to be. And if I can get a medium quality job, I'll be quite pleased. You never realize quite how many square feet a car is till you go to polish it. I'd like to think that these are bullet holes, but in fact they're exact same height. Kind of makes me think they used to just hold something to the side of the truck. Some kind of Jack Pine Savage would drill right through the side of his box just to hang a spare tire or ladder or some doohickey or another. I don't know. Expect if I do a Carfax, I'll find this truck used to live in Winfield, Alberta. That's what I think. Though, if it was from Winfield, those probably are bullet holes. One thing's definitely for sure. A lot of stuff got painted in the same room that this truck was sitting in. It's got all varieties of overspray. I've got a Powerwagon, na-na-na-na-na. I was a little underwhelmed driving this thing home the other night. No headlights, 6 cylinders. But I'm starting to like it. Could be next to my wife and son. This is going to be my favorite possession. We'll see.
After wet sanding, Brother Steve moved on to a power polish with some cutting compound. And though Steve might look like Jerry Reed, aka the famous snowman from Smokey and the Bandit, he has in actual fact been a paid Elvis impersonator. And personally, I think that may have affected his polishing techniques.
Might be a little too much water, I don't know. Maybe I carried away with the water. Maybe you don't want to stand quite so close.
I'm too short to get footage if it's
polishing, not water.
like the difference.
You know how I say not to run the polisher? Don't run the polisher too much in one place? I burned right through the paint there. Alright, I'd like to be where you are. So you'd have to be someplace else.
Now, happily, Brother Steve had the presence of mind to take a before and after shot. And I would say the difference is significant.
Well, I cleaned the outside about as best as I can, which isn't that great. But the inside could use some attention. Apparently, the previous owner liked sunflower seeds and mice. But overall, I think it's pretty nice. It's got all the shifters and all the pedals. And those are just about the only options I care about. Except for I want all the cylinders too. Woo! Manual hubs. Well, in here we got your standard variety mouse nest. Complete with mouse turds. I guess it's just as well I had to take the heater core out. That would not smell good. When you clean up an old car, you got to admire the mice. They are a magnificent and resourceful animal. This is the inside of the door. I don't even think there's a hole as big as a mouse anywhere. That whole door panel, which is also kind of gross, covered everything. I mean, how did they do it? It's incredible. This is not a vacuum cleaner job. I'm cleaning the door out with a shovel. If I ever get a vanity plate for this truck, it's going to say antivirus. But this is perhaps the most impressive, I think it's the most impressive work I've ever seen on behalf of the mice. Like there's, from a mouse's perspective, I bet you there's 10 inches of whatever this is. And they all got it into the door. Well, I don't know if this is going to look that good when it's done, but hopefully it'll smell a little less mousy. We'll see. There is an immense personal satisfaction that comes with using something you've had for decades and thought might never get used. Like my factory Dodge 5000 RPM tack. I'll finally have one that I can bury.
Next up were some spoked wheels with a coat of gold. Then a roll bar was acquired, and it got the same gold paint job. And finally, a set of bigger tires were mounted to complete the look.
No man's collection is complete without his work trucks, like a 1980 Dodge Powerwagon with not very nice panels, but otherwise it's nice. It's gonna have an engine change and a turbo. You might see that coming up later. This is just a nice little, it's got 3250 R15s. Yeah, that's what they're called. They're 30 and a half, so they're actually scam. Short box roll bar, recently added. It's got those locking hubs everyone likes. It's got a 4-speed that's really a 3-speed, unless you're a real heavy tower. I didn't know exactly that was possible, but yeah, this is supposed to go on it. The front right fender, I'm gonna say. And yeah, it's just a cool truck.
Now that Steve was reasonably happy with the aesthetics of the Powerwagon, the time came to start the hot rodding process.
Well, there's my shiny exhaust pipe. And there's my fuel pump and filters. They said it should be lower than the tank. I guess I've got it as low as the tank. I had to take the box off just to get access to what I was doing. Not that I took it off very far, but it's off. Meanwhile, at the front, I am uncarbureting this truck. That is hopefully the last I ever see of a 2-barrel, at least on this truck. I know of another Powerwagon that could use just this setup. Well, it's a good thing that I have no long-term purposes for this 318, because I do not believe that it is healthy. There are scratch marks on the cam. That lobe there looks especially ugly. And I think that might explain the low oil pressure. So, the only decent thing to do is put it back together and run it. For now. It may not look like much, but let me tell you what. This intake is far better than this sad little 318 deserves. And it has a sort of sentimental value to me, because it would have been in the early 2000s when I was an apprentice that I bought this brand new at the local Dodge dealer. It felt like real money. I guess it was. But back when I was an apprentice and single and didn't have any kids, well, sometimes I had real money and then I'd spend it. Anyway, this was on a Dakota of mine, and then it went to my brother Heathen. Ironically, so did the Dakota, and the intake went back on the Dakota, and he was nice enough to let me have it back now. And it's gonna go on this thing. Whoa, almost tripped over a jack. Anyway, I'm kind of excited to reuse an old speed part, even if it does give me a sense of my old age. Sam?
Yeah?
Look at the camera. Sam, what are we doing?
Putting EFI on. Or start up.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
we
get
already
book-
put it on. We're just
You
about-
get a book when you order the package. Or when it comes.
we're about
Comes
to
with
find
book.
out. Alright,
We're not
the
mixing-
truck is in neutral and cranking. Already running as good as it ever did. I guess now we can look at the book.
Why can't
If you were to remark, gee, Steve's going really fast, maybe.
No, you don't have to drive fast. Just drive fast.
Oh, I thought you said drive fast, and I was like, this might be the wrong.
It starts good. Like, it doesn't keep running too swift, but
The best it ever started was probably the first time I started it. So when it's supposed to learn, does it remember what it learns, or do you have to like...
yeah, but you're not learning right now.
No, but I'm thinking it's ran before several times.
No,
But I would say, if anything, it's running...
Okay, but there's a thing probably you don't have clicked on that we're going to click on.
What's that?
Hang on, I'll see if I can remember what it's called. Enabled. If enables is disabled, then it's disabled, right?
Minimum, I don't know anything.
Coolant temp sensor.
Okay.
If enabled is disabled, then it's disabled, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So part of the problem is because you're not at minimum coolant temperature,
It won't learn.
it won't learn. So while you're trying to get it running and it's running like junk when it's cold, it's not learning that it's running like junk. Let's go for a drive. This really does smell like an old Dodge.
Kind of runs like one too. A little bit. I mean, no worse than the carburetor was. Well, yeah, it's a little worse.
It's not great when your new injection runs worse than the carburetor did. You don't have a vacuum leak, do you?
I could.
We have a vacuum gauge on there? No, we don't.
I did not hose clamp the brake booster line.
That won't matter when you have no boost, though.
I was just thinking that is a line off the carburetor. Would that make for a vacuum leak? It wouldn't be much of one, but
I wouldn't expect so. Like, I suppose there is a bit of a factor of it's a stock 318 in a 5,000 pound truck.
yeah. And depending on, like, I don't know how dependent this contraption is on vacuum. If it's just like a carburetor where it needs that strong vacuum signal, because it doesn't have it. Like, you know. But you always have to give it like a little warning shot before you take off so it doesn't stall.
Yeah, you need some accelerant enrichment added. It's like a,
Oh, okay.
that's the equivalent of accelerator pump. Because that's sort of what it's like
okay.
it's missing.
Yeah, it sure is. Now, will it do that on its own, or is that something you gotta
Eventually,
tell
yeah,
it?
we can bump it up though.
So if we bump it up, will it still continue to
Yep.
learn and change from there?
Yep, it will.
Oh, okay.
Until you tell it not to learn anymore.
Because it's always chasing that target air fuel ratio.
Yeah,
Oh, we should do that.
we can do that.
Okay.
Pull her on over. Now I fiddled with the Holley Sniper for a couple minutes on the side of the road, using what little knowledge I had, and well, we had some degree of improvement. Enough to merit going for a drive and, you know, buzzing her down the highway a little bit. And that's about what we did. So, on the side of the road walking. What that generally means is I went for a ride with Brother Steve. I expect he'll be along shortly though.
Does that work all right for you?
I think so.
Okay.
How'd this work for you?
I don't know. It don't run very hard when it's at like 10 to 1.
Well, it's interesting. It stops. The fuel ratio stops at 9.6 and stays there. It's not fluttering. It's not doing anything weird. That's not a symptom I've experienced before. I expect it will figure itself out. But
You mean that it just doesn't compensate?
I think
or
it has.
lean out,
It
or-
doesn't know what to do with that particular RPM.